Well, it's been a while, so let's see if I remember how this goes. Greetings, friends of the apocalypse. This is Podcast at Ground Zero, your home for the apocalypse, episode 72, Cargo. I am the apocalypse nerd, and he is Adam Bomb Glancy. We're back, folks. I did the math, and we haven't done a show in 6 months, but there's just been too much going on, and it happens. You know, like we say, this isn't our day job. So, thank you for your patience. And if you're not patient with it, well, you know our answer to all that.
Yeah. We will give you a refund for all the money that you've sent us if we haven't been, scrupulous about our showing up and doing these shows.
Yes.
I think that's fair, right?
Yeah. Refund? Oh, they've been sending us money?
No, Jared. There's no money. By the way, have you seen my new Gamma World miniatures I bought?
Oh, okay. They've been paying you in Gamma World miniatures?
Oh God, I wish. I don't think that's an option. Sadly, no. Anyways, moving right along.
So we've been relapsing, folks, but hey, you know what? That's life. But we're still doing them. This week, we're going to talk about the 2017, released in Netflix in 2018, Australian film Cargo. But we're going to talk about a couple other things first. We're going to try to avoid our normal deep diatribes like we normally do. We're going to try. There's no guarantees. But one of the most important things that we have to mention, because it just happened today, is you better say it because you're better.
Okay. Well, it is here October 1st, 2018, and we just lost one of the guys who helped make our apocalypse for us. Carlos Izquierda, who was one of the co-creators of the Judge Dredd comic book from the English magazine 2000 AD, has passed away at the age of 70 of lung cancer.
He was also the co-creator for Strontium Dog, Johnny Alpha.
That's correct. Also on Strontium Dog. Now, granted, he was not one of the guys who was one of the main writers or illustrators behind The Cursed Earth, which was, of course, the big Judge Dredd dip into sort of major post-apocalypsing. But we wouldn't have the Judge if it wasn't for Carlos. And so he will always be missed.
Oh, when I was, again, growing up, 80s, I used to get them. I used to get the progs, the paper progs from my local comic store. They used to get them over from England.
Mm-hmm.
2080 was because 2080 it had mix. It had like the Strontium Dog. It had Judge Dredd, Slain, Robo Hunter, Rogue Trooper, Stainless Steel, all kinds of stuff in it.
Hell, it had Doctor Who stories.
Did it have Doctor Who stories in it?
Yeah,
I remember reading those.
There was one called the Iron Legion, which was stuck in my head as a Tom Baker Doctor Who story. But yeah, they had all kinds of good, juicy British stuff.
And the thing is, 2080 was a heavy influence for me for my apocalypse, especially Judge Dredd, The Cursed Earth, the Apocalypse War. Because the whole thing was a post-apocalyptic / dystopian future, but they've gotten to the apocalypse stuff a lot. Strontium Dog, so it was a heavy influence for me, at least growing up with what helped drive my apocalypses.
Yeah, I don't think, because there's been a couple of Judge Dredd movies. One was Stallone that wasn't so good.
Yes.
Yeah. It had the look of the comic book, but as soon as the helmet came off, I went, "That is not Judge Dredd," because his helmet never ever comes off. But then the other one
with Carl Urban.
Oh, with Carl Urban, although it was grittier and less cartoony, it certainly delivered the dystopia and the nasty. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, it was kind of like more like the. If you had to set it, it seemed like it was more like the early days of the mega cities before they really became mega cities.
Yes, yeah. Now there's still a wall out there. You can see the edge of the wall and the sprawl, but it wasn't quite as the blocks weren't as blocky as they eventually become as they were in the comic book. Like I said, the Judge Dredd movie with Stallone really kind of I thought a lot of ways they had the aesthetic of the comic book, but the Carl Urban film had the heart. Big difference. But we haven't had any treatments of Strontium Dog. Do you remember what the plot of Strontium Dog was?
Well, there was a treatment. There was an independent film. I thought I posted that. I'll have to dig that up, post it. There was an independent film the people did for Strontium Dog. It was actually, they did a really good job. Just total amateur thing they had Wolf and Strontium. It was like one of the. It wasn't super long. It was a little short film, but they did a really awesome job in it.
I want to say that there was a short fan made film for Dredd. It was Judge Smitty or something.
Yeah, Minty. I think
Judge Minty on the Long Walk, which was also.
I think it was the same. I think it was the same guys for some reason.
I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, Judge Minty, that's out there on YouTube. Is the other one? Is the Strontium Dog out there on YouTube?
It's out there somewhere. I thought I posted about. I'll look it up and I gotta get back to posting stuff. But I watched it. It was pretty good. Okay. So we lost Carlos. Big influence on at least for us for the apocalypse. So that's a sad day. Oh, also today is also for our gamer friends is the Dave Arneson Day. Because today is Dave Arneson's birthday. For you that do not know, Dave Arneson was one of the co-creator of Dungeons and Dragons. Blackmore was his main setting, and you could look up the history of him and Gary and leaving TSR and blah blah blah. I've actually met Dave on a few occasions back in the mid to early 2000s because a friend of mine. Was good friends with him, and when they were producing Blackmore stuff again under a different system, my friend was promoting it at MegaCon in Orlando because that's where Dave lived. Because Dave, in the end of his life, worked for Full Sail, which is like a graphics school for like gaming and computers and stuff like that. My friend worked there, so Dave went into that later in life. So I met Dave a few times, had some conversations, but some not deep conversations, but had some conversations. He was always a nice guy, So I never really heard nothing that I remember any good stories. But today was Dave Arneson's day because today's his birthday. He would have been 71, I think. So,
oh, speaking of birthdays, September 30th, yesterday. Was the 20th birthday of Fallout 2's release.
Oh, okay.
Which was a little bit shocking because I got Fallout 2 very late compared to other people. I must have picked it up after 2001, by which time it was an obsolete game 3 years later. But it was a little shocking to realize I've been farting around with that franchise for well over 20 years. It was here before the millennium.
Oh yeah.
And that's just number 2. That's not even the birthday of number 1, which I think is at least a year older. But I only know what they tells me on the interwebs.
So those are a couple of the main things. Important thing is a little over a week and a half ago, I posted our current contest, the coloring contest for the well-known post-apocalyptic cartoon character. I'm disappointed in our fans. I guess people didn't like this contest because I guess people didn't want to win a copy of the Survivalist #1 in that stack over there. Plus, I got a bunch of other stuff there too, which for future contests. I had one entry. So if you're working on it, guys, get it to me by Friday because if the one person who did the entry, if I only have one entry, that's not fair. I can't do just one person. I need at least 2 people or more.
We got to come up with a consolation prize, though. If there's one person stepped up and nobody else stepped up, we got to come up with a consolation prize. It may not be, John Rourke, but we can come up with something.
Yeah, I'll have to come up with something. But folks, if you're listening to this and you're working on it, get to it. everybody had, the information was there. When I posted on the YouTube channel, because people are always bitching at me, you need to put links in the YouTube description, because I'm not a YouTuber. I'm not a YouTube celebrity. I'm not like the YouTuber person. We just use this to record the shows, and it just happens to post on the channel. Our main thing is we rip it for audio and post it on the blog. So, but this time I put the details in the description, when your deadline is, and a link to the blog, because that's where you get the image on the blog. Podcast@groundzero.com. Go there, download, get your crayons out, color it in, or color pencils, whatever you want, paint it. I don't care. Get it to us. If I start to see some more interest, if I get some stuff in the next couple of days, maybe I'll extend it by a couple of days just to try to get more people in. At because I'm going to make some kind of announcement to kind of remind people that, hey, deadline's coming up. So I'm disappointed because last contest we had at least 5 or 6 entries.
Yeah, we really did. 5 or 6 entries. They're all of them beautiful.
Yeah, so that's coming up, folks, and then. The last thing I'm going to talk about, then we're going to get to the movie, is next show. We're gonna do it next week sometime, because I know Scott's going away at the end of the week for the HP Lovecraft Film Festival in Portland, Oregon, but he'll be back next week. Our next show, we're going to do something I talked about a long time ago, was doing shows called Off Topic, where we're just going to kind of sit here and like kind of how we're doing now, but the whole show is going to be that. Because I have all kinds of things I want to talk about, things books I've been finding, and things I'm looking into, and other stuff that's happening. And we're just going to talk about different post-apocalyptic stuff. Just kind of like a round robin, and just talk about things and share information.
Rather than do a deep dive into one topic like we're doing today with the movie Cargo.
So that's going to be our next show. But that's all we got for now. But as a reminder, if you're working on your contest entry, get it to us. So, but now let's talk about Cargo. Cargo was, like I said, it was a 2017 film, Australian film, was originally, I think, Scott, from 2013.
Yes.
The short film.
The short film was from 2013.
Okay, so it's a zombie movie set in Australia, based off a short film with a pretty decent concept. What was it? I haven't seen the short film. So what was the premise of the short film?
The short film, in some ways, is the entire movie Cargo, which we now have in an hour and a half, 90-minute whatever format, done in 7 minutes, with no distractions, no navel gazing. It's a story of a guy who's been bit by a zombie and has to find a way to save his infant daughter, not only from the zombies, but from himself before he turns. And his countdown clock is super fast. I mean, the film's 7 minutes long, but it describes you're going to turn in hours, just a few, before sunset, before the day is out, you will have turned. So that 7-minute film was super effective, really super effective. And on the strength of that, obviously, they got themselves this full feature, which in some ways suffers from taking a great concept and just dragging it out a little too much.
I will say that, because I think it was I want to say it was $1.45. It was definitely too long. Okay, could have been shorter, and you can see it suffers from that. And they really could have chopped it. They could have made, but again, they're trying to make a feature-length film. But they could have done an hour 20, hour 15. There's got to be reasons why films never bottom out under 90 minutes these days, or 89 minutes. There's got to be a reason for distributors or whatever, because that just says if you turn in a 70-minute film or an 80-minute film, you're not going to get distribution. I mean, when I just watched a couple of Boris Karloff films today, because hey, it's October, got to get started on that were an hour and 7 minutes long, an hour and 18 minutes long. But I guess you could do that in 1932. Not today. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, I agree. But the thing is, but then the movie suffers. Like Scott and I before the show were talking about. There's a cosmic horror film called The Endless on Netflix. It was like an hour and 50 minutes. They could have told the whole story in an hour, and I think it would have been. It was a good film. It had some good stuff about it that I really liked, but there was too much just filler to fill in 2 hours. It could have been an hour, and it would have been really good if it was just down to an hour.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing with Cargo. If they could have shaved 25, 30 minutes off it, it would have been much better. Much better.
Yeah. And it's difficult to get filmmaker. I mean, I presume this is a problem at the production company distribution end where there's certain expectations that they will not let go of. I mean, who's going to go to the movies for an hour? That's crazy. But people will sit in the theater for how long for one of the Hobbit movies? Like, 2 hours and 40 minutes,
2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Or they'll watch the new movie, The Predator, for 2 hours.
So apparently that could have been a lot shorter. Like it could have not been made.
I think you got it in one, Scott.
Okay. That's a shame because Shane Black usually is okay. After all, he is a Predator alumni. He died in the first film, so he should have done better.
They're not to go off on that, but what they could have done with it, because they were trying to expand, they're trying to reinvent the universe, the Predator universe, which they're trying to cater to a newer audience, because just for example, I went with a bunch of us went to the theater, like my wife, her uncle, her cousin, who's a young cousin. He's 12 and a half. So he was there with one of his cousins on the other side of the family who was probably 15 or so. And the younger one thought he was kind of in the middle. I hated it. The young kid 15 thought it was great. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. And and I don't care if I spoil it. Oh, the suit in the end was awesome. It was this awful CG. They were trying to make it a Marvel film. They were trying to turn Predator into a Marvel film.
Ouch.
That's why it fucking sucked. Because they're trying to put too much comedy. Like they were trying to put comedy in it. Whereas the original had some moments, but they were trying to be funny. They were trying to make jokes. Awful CGI. Now all of a sudden, we're aligned against the Predators because of the rogue factions, and they sent us this Predator killer suit. That like goes on my arm and makes me like it's like a Guyver suit that could feed all. It was
oh my god,
crap.
They went Guyver. Oh wow.
Well, basically,
I know what you mean though. I remember those bad movies from the 80s. They were bad.
Oh, the Guyver was better than that. But it was like this thing like. This bracelet went on the guy, and then like it turned into this giant Predator suit with lasers everywhere. And like, that's my suit. It's like they're trying to make a Marvel movie out of it. It was so awful.
Wow.
All
right, Cargo.
All right, Cargo. You start talking about all right. So Cargo. So it's a zombie movie. There's a disease, but in the movie they've expanded upon the universe where, basically you got 48 hours from the time you're infected.
Yeah. Which leads me to, do you want to talk about the thing in the movie that I like the best, the kit? Or do you want to get other things done first?
No, the kid shows up in the beginning. So
right at the beginning.
The movie starts off with this family, husband, wife, baby. They're in a riverboat trying to find some place to go.
Martin Freeman, who was Dr. Watson on the new Sherlock and was Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit, is the father. Yeah,
he did a good job. Good actor. They're in the boat. They're traveling. They got to get food and stuff. And one of the things that they have in the boat is apparently this apocalypse they knew it was coming because the government has issued these kits. So talk about the kits.
And they're paradropping them. You first see the kits because they're floating in the water. They're in these bright orange containers so you can see them easy. They're apparently will float in water so they won't sink to the bottom. There's like a parachute out in the river trapped in some trees, and all these kits are floating. When they scoop them out and they open it up, and the kit describes, it has a pamphlet on one of the symptoms. It shows the last areas known to be where there is infection. Every kit comes with a watch that you can
It's a timer watch, so you can put your 48 hours in, and
yeah, all you have to do is cat attack. All you have to do is start the watch, and it starts your 48-hour countdown. So you can immediately see what the deal is. The watch was like a digital watch. It's waterproof with this elastic rubberized band, which I thought was nice. So one size would sort of fit all. It had
the device.
Well, it had zip ties for tying up your family members when they start to turn, and it had a mouth guard.
Oh yeah, that's right, a mouthpiece to keep
a plastic mouthpiece to keep your family from biting you if their loved ones are turning. And then they had the thing was like, when all else fails, they had a pneumatic hammer, hand-sized pneumatic hammer with a spike. And
it was like a shot the spike out right to the head.
Yeah, and if you knew you were going down, you could put it up to your eye or to your temple. And they showed in the kit, there's like this illustrations on place thing to eye, hit backside. It showed how to use the kit. And I thought, you know what? The stuff that was in the kit was actually pretty useful.
It was a good kit. I like that. But apparently that shows that either the breakout was, it's Australia, it's less populated. So the breakout was either slow to happen, I don't know, but they had time to make these because they were manufactured. All of that. Yeah. Or they knew it was coming.
If it's like, on the beach where the problem's on the mainland, but eventually people fleeing the mainland with their 48 hours worth of zombie turning got in their boats. The boats got to Indonesia. Indonesia, one island at a time, goes out. And then that place hemorrhages people in northern Australia, like Darwin, places up there. And then so Australia had time to try and prepare some things. But apparently did not do any good.
Nope, but the kits were cool.
Kits were very cool.
So as it's obvious, things happen. Apparently, because it is based off the same the short film, and we already told you about that he needs to find a safe place for his baby because we'll spare you the details of how and what, but things go amiss, and he needs to find somebody to take care of his baby because the parents aren't going to be around anymore. So,
yeah. Sure. And it's definitely a zombie virus because you don't go zombie until you die.
Yeah.
And you can go zombie quicker if you've got the virus and you die or shot or injured and fall over and you get up again. You will get up again. But it requires that you absolutely flatline dead before you come back. So it's not just people with the plague. So it meets the Jared Wallace qualifications for an actual zombie film. It is not 28 Days Later.
Yeah. And so there were some different, they did some different approaches, some different aspects of it, like things with, signs of, the bodies and what happens to you and stuff like that. So they did some different approaches. I did like the name they call their zombies diggers.
Yep. Based on a behavior that they do.
Based on behavior. Here's the thing that I think, I don't know. I'm wondering if a lot of the zombie, and me and Scott talked about this before, was, okay, here's the thing with the movie. There was a heavy Aboriginal undertone to the whole movie with characters and, tribes and traditions, stuff like that. And again, not that there's anything wrong with that because it's Australia. So, or anything, but I'm just saying there was definitely that heavy undertone going through it. So I'm wondering because some of the behaviors of the zombies, again, we won't get into that, but we're definitely seeing I wonder if that came from some kind of Aboriginal, mythology or something like that because of what they acted and what they did sometimes. I mean, they're still kind of traditional zombies, but they did some other different things. They weren't your typical, they were, relatively slow moving, went for meat, went for the living, blah, 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 but they did some other behaviors that I was wondering if it's I wonder if some of that maybe came from some Aboriginal tradition. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to even comment on it, but I'm just curious.
The only knowledge I have about Aboriginal mythology and culture, sadly, comes from reading the Terror Australis game supplement for Call of Cthulhu. You know,
or the Shadow at a Time with
written back in the 1980s. Yeah, so I know Zippo. I know there's something they call the Dream Time, which is like a time before the world was created, and I know they've got a mess of horrible mythological creatures that pester them in their world, but I don't know much beyond that. There's something called a bunyip, but that's more of a big monster than it is like a person. But anyways, yeah. So I don't know enough about that to even.
But it may not be. But it seems like, but it would kind of make sense with the heavy Aboriginal undertone of the story.
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know.
Because they're out in the outback, they do run into the Aborigines.
Oh yeah, they are in the outback. They are. It's not like they're like near Sydney, or any of the other major coastal cities. They are in the outback.
Yeah, and the idea being, of course, stay away from population centers. You know, get as far away from people as possible. Which, you know, makes sense in your zombie apocalypse. And there's few places you can go to that are thinner with population than the Australian outback. You have to either go to the Sahara Desert or the Gobi Desert, you know, or maybe Antarctica to get a thinner population. There was this one sort of layer of ruthlessness where he finds a woman who was a teacher, ran a local school for the Aborigines kids in the area.
Yeah, because he was looking for a hospital, and he found the hospital marked on the map that this town has a hospital, but
that was something I really liked. You had a map, right, and it says town and hospital, and he gets there, and it's like the nurse's office in the school. That's the hospital. It's just the nurse's office in the school.
Well, that's what's left. She said there was, but she's like, yeah, it never really was. We lost our funding, and it's.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just a cluster of 7 buildings. That's his town that they're busting their ass to get to, right? We'll be safe if we get to a town. And it's 8 kinds of nothing. That was a nice touch. I was very happy with that moment. There was no payoff. It's like, what do you expect, man? You're using a Michelin map,
Yeah.
To get around. But that was a nice moment of ouch when things didn't work out. There's a lot of things not working out. There's not too much stupidity in the film. Things go square. Things go square or go pear-shaped when following. I don't want to get too much into it. How people get bit, but they're not super retarded about it. I mean, that's the thing that's always a problem in horror movies, is that people only get bitten or hurt when they do something stupid. And I'm always happy with a film where they do everything right, it doesn't help. You just don't get that very often in any kind of film, whether it's a apocalypse or otherwise.
Yeah, part of the thing that wasn't again, when I say there was the Aboriginal undertone, because a lot of it dealt with tribal stuff, like the different tribes, and they're trying to cleanse the land, kind of thing. Like it was more mystical in some sense.
Well, yeah, in some sense there were that the Aboriginals' approach to the zombies was to treat them like sort of mythological creatures, and there was a ruthlessness to it, because when he gets to see that girl, the woman at the school, she's like, she figures out what's wrong with him right away, and I think she asks, "What's your clock?"
Yeah,
and he knows right away, and he's just, "Yeah, cover that up. Don't let them see that. They'll kill you immediately. They won't discuss it." Which is how the Aborigines are making it. They're being super, super ruthless.
Yeah, it's like we're clearing the land of stragglers was their approach, and they were just kind of going through the landscape, setting up little camps, drawing attention. Like you heard, like if you remember it's the only place I remember from Crocodile Dundee, when he's out in the and he's like, "What are you gonna do? Gonna make a phone call?" And they have like this like the leather string with the wood piece that you spin and it makes the whirling sound. They're using that making noise to attract attention, to attract them to them, because they have like smoke up to kind of obscure things. But I don't know if it was ritualistic at all, but they're like kind of drawing them in and kind of clearing them out, you know?
I thought they were also using this. They were also burning down kill zones.
Yeah.
You know, they were clearing out the brush and in certain areas so they could create a kill zone to draw the zombies into it and have clear fields of fire for the lances and the spears and the clubs that they deployed to bash their heads in, and then burn the bodies. You know, there's also a thing where they're burning the bodies afterwards. There's some other MacGuffins, other tricks that the Aborigines have, which I will leave out. Some of them kind of bugged me in that they were a little bit too
technology. Look, technology fails, but ancient tradition works, kind of stuff. You know.
Yeah, and you know, it's a bit of a trope. It's a bit of a simple trope. It's like the Stone Age blue people in that James Cameron film, which I've
Avatar.
Beating up on mechs and hover planes and shit, with their Stone Age weapons. That's a lovely idea, but our history has not demonstrated that to be true most of the time.
Well, Avatar was basically just Fern Gully, but like with a bigger budget. But
Dances with Smurfs was my favorite description of it. But yeah, it's right on Fern Gully. So yeah, there's a little of that. They of course the military base they're going to is KO'd. And I'm like, well, what happened to all those guys with rifles? Well, we don't know. We never get an answer why that failed. One of the problems with the place failing, of course, is that humans need food, water, logistical supplies that zombies don't need. So,
which is always how they get you in the end, because you run out of stuff.
Yeah. And so the idea that a military base supporting a large number of guys, they ran into some dead soldiers out in the field away from the military base. And it sort of had this feeling to me like maybe they were deserting the base. Maybe the base ran out of food, water, something like that. And they tried to break out and leave or something, But, most government efforts have appeared to have failed.
Yeah, that'll failed. And then at that point, because I said he had run into, some of the natives, and because again, it definitely had, like you said, it had the overtone of man's modern world will fail, but the ancient ways will always succeed kind of tone to it. Yeah. And along the way, while he's still going through, he ran into he thought he was making an ally along the way, who wound up being just a real POS. Yeah.
There is the required asshole.
The trope of the a-hole who's picking on the natives.
Well, that's one of the things that I liked about the old Dawn of the Dead remake, is that the character who's the security guard, who starts off as your typical a-hole, eventually, is tired, does not commit to being an a-hole in every situation and comes through.
He redeems himself in the end.
Yeah, he's more than happy to roll up his sleeves and get out the oxyacetylene torch and help make the battle buses for their big escape, which is, because everybody's ass is on the line. But this character, our hero runs into a guy named Vic, who's an oil field worker, or a what do you call it? A fracking field, gas field.
Yeah, it was fracking. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Who I noticed had a survival complex down in a quarry, which immediately made me think of Survivors.
Yes.
It made me think of that. Who he'd stocked away all his supplies down there.
Well, I think he kind of like built it around existing, part of the fracking plate, because there was like storage tanks and stuff like that were like that he couldn't have just put up there himself. It was
no. He was using the company's gear, much like the guy in Survivors was using the company's tractor and things like that to create a little fortification. And in other weird ways, he seems very barred from the survivors because gold. He's got that thing about gold where he's the guy going, "Oh, we're killing zombies and then we're taking their wallets and taking their money out." I'm like, you know,
Because things are going to turn around, and then people are going to need these things.
yeah,
Trope, you know.
Yeah. There's always that guy again, right out of Survivors, the guy who's going around collecting supplies, trading for gold, and it's like, someday the economy's coming back and I'll have all the gold. Yes, you will. That is very true, sir. You will have all the gold. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
But the girl who played the young Aboriginal girl, I thought her performance was pretty good. I thought she was all right. She seemed really credible, and what I loved is that she was some of her she was still, even though she was had relatively had her act together. When she starts off, she's
she wasn't on board with this guy's whole thing,
No, and she's also being somebody who's still attached to the idea that we can get our loved ones back.
Yes, again, that
and there's always, and I get that, but and I can't remember, was she thinking I was it. Part of her thing was getting our loved ones back was definitely hooked into Aboriginal mythology. Her thought that she could get him back had to do with his soul.
Well, yeah, she wanted to get him to the what did she call him? Not the magic man, but it was like the smart man or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, there was a term for the guy. It was like the let me see.
The old shaman kind of guy, basically.
Yeah. I do not remember, and I was just looking him up online, and I'm not seeing actually his
name in this.
I'm seeing his character's name, which I believe is Daku, but that was his character's name. The actor's name was let's see here, David. Oh my God, it's David Gulpili. I just suddenly remembered. He was in Rabbit Proof Fence a million years ago. And Crocodile Dundee too, for that matter.
Well, yeah, because how many? I'm sure there's not a large pool of Aboriginal actors. So
and I gotta tell you, this guy looks familiar enough that I am.
Oh yeah, I've totally seen him before.
Yeah.
Well,
I think he might have been in the last. Yeah, he was. He was the last wave with. Speaking of apocalypses, he was in the last wave, which is quite a good Australian coming apocalypse movie. But go ahead.
Well, no, saying is they definitely don't have a large pool of Aboriginal actors because Willie, the girl's father, is a 30-year-old American football player.
Oh.
African American football player. He was not, a native Aboriginal.
Oh,
he played one. They doctored him up, and I thought he was. They did. At least with makeup, they did a good job. I was like, I thought he was native. But anyway, he looked for me. Like you said, the old man looked for me. She called him like the smart man or something like that.
It was like the knows a lot, or the make smart man, or the knows things man, or something. It was something really weird like that. And strangely enough, I ran across that again recently in something else. That exact same name. I can't remember what the heck I was watching, but she thought she could get into him, and he could use some tribal shamanism on him. But even he is like, no. He's like, no. You whack him in the head. You pin him to the ground with a spear and you whack him in the head. That's it. That's what you do.
But they didn't. But with him, they didn't do the traditional burning. They did more of a ceremonial.
They buried him though.
No, they didn't bury him.
They put him in the tree.
In the tree.
Yeah, which apparently is. I thought the implication is that putting the body off the ground was an Aboriginal custom.
I think it was like to keep the other bad spirits from getting to him or something like that.
Yeah. So she was still using some of her. So in that sense, I didn't. I was like that. There's things that the natives are doing right and things that they're sort of doing wrong, but the adults are being really practical and ruthless and utterly ruthless. And definitely there's this thing where they're restructuring for a time without logistics, going back to an absolute hand-to-mouth existence until they can get rid of all the zombies.
Well, the thing is, they, because of the Australian government, they're really kind of like that now. So they're not that far off.
Yeah. The nice thing about being dirt shit poor and herded off into the worst part of Australia that nobody lives in is that you're actually pretty well set for the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, because all it made me think of is like, well, they're not that, because if you think back to the 80s with the band Midnight Oil. Remember Midnight Oil?
Yeah.
He was making, because he was very much an advocate of the Aboriginals, because of how poorly the government treats them and stuff like that. And a lot of his songs were about that. He even went into politics and became part of the because they use like an English. He was part of the Parliament, and he always fought for Aboriginal rights and trying to get them stuff like that. So because they treat them, it's like, I don't know who treats the natives worse, the U.S. or the Australians.
We do. Our pioneer forefathers did seem to see eye to eye on that issue. That they're just gonna have to move or die, and then there's, of course, they had the same native schools, like we had native schools in Canada and in the United States. Did the same thing for the Aborigines to try
let's move away from politics before we go there, but then people will start hating us. But
they already do. They already hate us. But
they do. But yeah, so you have a lot of that theme, and he's still, and the girl's helping him out through the film to accomplish his task of trying to find some place to take care of his baby. Like, he finds some other people, but that turns south. He encounters that guy, and he thought that might work. That doesn't work out.
Yeah, maybe he can leave them with the guy with the armored compound. Yeah. Maybe that'll work. Oh, maybe I can go back and find that family we saw by the river. Maybe that'll work out. I got the impression he didn't leave the baby with the old woman because I saw that scar in her head. Did that look like maybe brain cancer surgery?
I think they were trying to indicate she had cancer because she wore the scarf, was wearing a wig. So
yeah. So I got the impression she had cancer and she wasn't going to make it more than a few months because she was bald and she had a surgical scar in her head. So yeah, she's not going to make it. She's not going to work. Ultimately, in a lot of ways, the means that were used to get out of this problem ultimately were the same in both movies. The solution to keep going against all odds and keep the baby safe was actually the same in both films. Strangely enough. With one added element that was different in the 7-minute movie. But go see the 7-minute movie. You will not be disappointed by that. It's boom, great idea, great story, executed. This one, it is not as tight as The Dead, which was the one set in Africa, right?
Yeah. Yep. The Dead, and then I kept on thinking there was a zombie film in the early 2000s that was an Australian one. Was it called Undead? That
yes.
That basically it was UFOs were making the zombies.
Yeah, I think Undead was heavily influenced by Sam Raimi, so it came off very evil. I remember it coming off very Evil Dead to me.
Or maybe Peter Jackson.
Oh yeah.
What was the films he freaking did?
The Bad Taste.
No, not Bad Taste. Not with the. Was it Bad Taste?
Well, Bad Taste was the one where the commandos come into town to investigate the alien invasion.
Or the guy with the lawnmower.
That was oh my goodness, I've forgotten.
I can't remember.
It wasn't Dead Again. It was
Was it Dead Alive? No, it wasn't Dead Alive.
Yes.
Was it?
Yes, it was Dead Alive. It was Dead Alive. Yeah. So I thought it was it felt like it was influenced by early Peter Jackson, early Sam Raimi. That's my recollection of
But it kind of reminded me of that because there was a behavior in Undead that happened with the zombies in this movie, so it made me kind of think of that. And again, I'm not going to tell you guys what it is. You'll have to watch the movie. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I liked it a little better than Jared did. I said it was about 5 or 10% dubious, 20% meh, and I get about 70% good, solid zombies action. Jared's numbers are lower.
Yeah, I don't even remember what I told you. I think the solid was, I was more of a 50-55. Like I said, it was good. It just, again, too long, too much filler. There was definitely some dubious stuff like, oh, okay, like a lot of the tropes, and like I said, the whole overview of like, man's technology will fail, and the old ways will win over was a little heavy. It was a little heavy-handed, in the movie.
Yeah, I guess I was one of the things that I was just the most original thing were some of the zombie behaviors, hence their name Digger, and the zombie preparedness kit, which again I had not seen in a movie that I can think of, and it had not seen something that was as effective as a zombie preparedness kit. I could imagine seeing something that was terrible or didn't work or had the wrong information, but that kit was awesome. That is the kit that I would want to have airdropped, over the country so that everyone can get their hands on it.
Yeah, and to try to reduce the spread, because it's like, well, here, take care of your bit people, and then they won't get up and bite somebody else, and chain reaction. That's what they're trying to stop. Yeah,
and so that was pretty. That inside of itself was almost worth the price of admission. But yes, it does suffer from the problem of taking an idea that was super tight and dragging it out a little too long.
Yeah, I didn't hate it. Would I pay for to see it? No, but I think it's free on Prime. That's where I watched it? Yeah, I watched it on Prime.
I think I saw it on Netflix myself.
Was it on Netflix? I don't know. It's on one of the two. I forget. They're so interchangeable. But it's free. Free, ain't it? Free's good. For free film,
you're paying for Netflix. You might as well watch it.
Exactly. Well, it's not totally free, but it's worth watching because it's different. There's enough different about it.
We both have a hard-on for foreign apocalypses. What do foreigners think their apocalypse is going to look like? How is the apocalypse going to be changed by the conditions in that country? I mean, there's a French film called Ravenous that's also available on Netflix that I want to check out one of these days too. I don't know if it's any good, but it's a French zombie movie, and I want to see if it's any different than what things they do differently.
Oh, okay. I got that bookmarked on my list, so I just said, "Oh, Ravenous. That sounds like it's something." So
yeah.
Speaking of French films, we should do Time of the Wolf one day.
Yeah, as far as straight apocalypses, no zombies. Trust me, though, everything's fucked. Everything's horrible. There is
yeah, there's some. Maybe we'll do that one of these days, because that movie's kind of like, it is grim. It's like, oof.
It does suffer from Euro slowness, but it is unrelentingly grim. There's no rescue from that one. But anyways, yeah, we just getting to see a foreign version of our tropes that we've gotten used to is always cool. That's always cool.
Yeah, to see how they approach it. Do they do it differently? Do they do it better? Do they do it worse? But again, it's worth checking out, folks. Like I said, just be warned. It's a little long. I thought it was a little long. And I'm normally fine to sit through stuff. But I'm just like, it's like, okay, But, like I said, it's not as bad as I've seen. It's not as painful as some other ones I've seen. But I'd say it's definitely worth your time to see it.
Yeah. There was some, one of my favorite sequences in the film, honestly, was that bit where he goes back to the first family. And they've run into a similar situation. Their family has a similar situation. But the way they've chosen to deal with it was anger making in me. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the way that guy dealt with it was kind of like how the ending of The Mist, the guy how he dealt with his situation.
Yeah, that's how he's gonna fix it. And I'm like, way to give up, dude. No, don't. I realize there's a problem here, but you can fix it. And he's like, no, it was that. It reminded me of those stories you hear about guys who destroy their family when things are going badly for them, and they've tried to maintain everything's okay for so long, and then suddenly the fact that he's out of work and broke, and and their credit cards are maxed out, that his only way out is to murder his whole family. That shit happens, and that's what that was my reaction when I saw what was going on at that camp. I was like, oh man, you selfish jerk. You're the one with the problem. Let your family get away. But nope. It'll be better if they're with me.
No. Try to get them safe.
Yeah, he's the
at least try.
Yeah, he's the antithesis of Martin Freeman, who's doing everything on his kamikaze run to save an infant. And boy, there's one thing this movie really did pretty well. They made a big point of how fucked up it is having the infant.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Yeah,
who has no clue what's going on, is never going to understand, isn't going to obey orders, is going to make noises whenever it's time to make noises. That was terrifying. Walking around with this meaty kitchen timer that you can't see the numbers. It could go off at any moment.
I know it really showed how difficult, because he's like, it's like, well, I got to save my baby because I want my baby to grow up. But it's like, well, you're saving him for this world that's may not even be here, you know. But you can't just let it die because it's your, that's a tough scenario that this guy's in, because he knows he's not going to be there, and he's trying to get somebody to take care of his child, and who's going to do that in that world? It's just not good. There's no good choices anywhere. It's like,
but right. We completely forgot about that, and that was one of the most nerve-wracking things in it. Was you're on your way to save her, but she is something that gives away your position, all the time. That was really rough. I don't want to repeat myself too much about this movie. Have we given our presentation? Are we done here for our first
episode? I think we've covered it all. So hopefully people will see that. And then, so that's it. Again, it's available on either Netflix or Amazon Prime. I can't remember which one. I also watched I Think We're Alone Now.
Oh, okay. I can't wait to watch that. Should we review it next time?
No, I want to do the other show next time. I want to do the off-topic show, and then we could do that afterwards. I don't want to do too many movies in a row, because there's plenty of other things to talk about. Like I've been really thinking about it. Also, what I want to do for a show is, I don't know if I want to go back to do a Gamma World show, because we haven't talked about it in a long time. I don't know if I want to maybe focus on one rule set, or maybe talk about one adventure, like break out one of the adventures, go through it, and just talk about the adventure.
I'm happy to dig deep into Famine and Fargo or any of those.
I was thinking the Legion of Gold, or maybe even I really enjoy Albuquerque Spaceport. It's a short scenario that I actually played before. I actually got to play it with somebody DMing it. I liked it, so I want to do something like that. Another movie. We're gonna do the open, the open topics. But I Think We're Alone Now was interesting. If you're looking for a movie with a lot of talking, this is not the movie for you. There's a lot of not talking in that movie.
Well, when you're alone, who are you going to talk to? Yeah,
but it's pretty good. It's pretty interesting, and it went a place that I didn't expect. Like, oh, okay, oh, that's interesting. But okay, it's a pretty good movie. It's a pretty good movie, and I also, because I had to rent that because it's not in the theaters, and then also like I mentioned earlier, apparently it's Mandy. It's not post-apocalyptic, but Mandy, the Nicolas Cage film, is really good. And apparently, I just like the concept. I got to see it in there. Was the cheese goblin?
No, I am not aware of the cheese
Are
goblin.
you not aware of the cheese goblin? Apparently, that's taking over the internet. The cheese goblin. It's this 80s. There's a box of mac and cheese. It's like goblin mac and cheese. And apparently there's like there's just like a commercial on in the background in the movie. It's like very 80s because the movie takes place in these very 80s. And there's like this awful looking 80s goblin puppet. And he shares his love of cheddar with the children and like pukes mac and cheese on them. You know, it's
Don't make me laugh like that. I have pneumonia. All right. I have Captain Trips right now. So, okay. I cannot wait for the cheese goblin.
And apparently, like in some of the premieres, like they had like fake boxes of mac and cheese for like goblin mac and cheese.
Is this a callback to what's his name's band that did the music for Dawn of the Dead?
Goblin? No.
It's not a callback to. It's not a callback to what's his name, the Italian director.
No. Mm-mm. But it's like 70s. But anyway, it's off topic. So anyway, I think we're low now. I want to do a Gamma World discussion. I want to do an off topic because I have a lot of stuff like books I've been digging into and all this other stuff. So we're gonna do we don't have a lot of prep to do, so we're gonna try to do it next week. Is off topic. So
I got plenty of new stuff. I've got Black Moon. I'd like to do a little review of Black Moon, the book. That's the sleep apocalypse.
Oh, yep, okay.
And I'd like to. I've got some more movies for us that have turned up that I'd like to throw into the grinder. See how they come out.
Okay, cool. All right, so we'll call it that. Again, folks, we're gonna, we'll try to do sometime next week. As long as Scott's recovered and not dead from his trip to Portland with pneumonia. So
yes, I'm going to the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival in Portland, where apparently I'm supposed to drink and talk about Lovecraft. And I've been told that. So I'm going to be like Val Kilmer in Tombstone. I'm either going to be coughing and pale and shaky with consumption, or I'm going to be drunk. Those are my two states of being. I think that I'm going to be alternating between.
So nothing unusual.
So I'm your Huckleberry. Is what I'm saying.
But so that's it, folks. And remember, like I said, if you wanted to get into the contest, get into the contest. So, so as usual, like I always say, if you want to subscribe to the channel, that's always great. So you always know when there's new videos. There's a subscribe button down somewhere. Subscribe. But I always tell people, go to the blog, podcast@groundzero.com. Everything we do is posted there. The videos are posted there. The audio is there. We rip the audio. You can keep apprised of what's going on by going to the right column. Subscribe by email. And anytime I make a blog post, it sends you an email so you know what's going on. And that's it. So thank you for your time as usual, folks. Again, sorry for the long absence, but, life. What are you going to do? And that's it. So we'll probably see you in about a week. Thank you as always, and we'll see you in the wastelands.